Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Jeff here at Time for a New Watch, and today I'm going to be talking about the Vostok Amphibia. This is quite an interesting watch, although it's also very cheap. I was very surprised to find, kind of early on when I was looking at watches, that this particular watch is even cheaper than a lot of Chinese watches that are of similar quality. Well, I wouldn't say similar quality. It's kind of difficult to get into all that, but I just found that there was a cheaper automatic watch than than a lot of the Chinese watches out there, like Parnis, and I was really interested, mainly because of the history. Because this is a Russian brand, and this was designed in like Soviet times in the 1960s. And what happened is the elite divers in the U.S. and Great Britain, they were using Rolexes and Blancpains for their dive operations. So the story goes anyway. And the Soviet Union didn't have any kind of a watch to dive with. So they couldn't afford to buy these Swiss watches like the Western powers. And they could also not afford to license the designs. So they had to make their own design. And what they came up with is this. There are lots of different cases, but this is the Vostok Amphibia. It's pretty smartly designed. Most of the other dive watches at the time, and still now even, they're pretty much designed with brute strength in mind to keep the water out at like 200 meters. But with the Vostok, they they just started from scratch. They made something completely new that works very well. First of all, the water can get in from 3 different places very easily. And this counts in pretty much every watch. You can have water come in through the case back here. You can have water come in through the crown. And you can have water come in around the crystal. So what the Soviet designers did is they came up with a pretty novel idea for each one of these. In order to keep the water from coming in through the case back, you've got this ring here. And this ring, you can just take it out and then lift the case back right out. The case back doesn't screw in. And there's a flat gasket right under here. So what this does, like every other dive watch mostly that I have seen, it has a kind of cylindrical gasket, and you screw the case back down, and that puts a shear force on the gasket, which kind of ruins the gasket very quickly. But in this case, you almost never have to replace the gasket because it just pushes the gasket straight down when you tighten this ring. So you keep the water out from there. Next, we've got the crown. And you know what? I'm going to save the crown for last because that's kind of a signature feature of the Vostok Amphibia. Next, you've got the crystal. Now, the crystal in like a lot of luxury watches is it's mineral glass or it's sapphire glass. This is just some kind of plastic crystal. It scratches easily, but you can also buff out the scratches easily. And you can see here it's also somewhat thick. The crystal is very thick. And it's also softer than the other ones. So what that means is you see it's also very domed, like it's a huge dome for a watch. So what we've got then is when the water pressure presses down on this, and it presses down more, it can withstand more because of the large dome, but what also happens is it gets pressed into the case itself, and it's designed to expand outwards when it gets pressed downwards so that it actually forms an even greater seal. So these watches, I have read, have no problems going to 200 meters, and I've even read about somebody taking their Vostok Amphibia to 240 meters without a problem. And the last part is this, the crown. A lot of dive watches have screw-down crowns, but it's threaded on the inside. This is kind of like a, let me undo it here. This screws on kind of like a bottle top. So you see it comes off and it's wobbly. So it keeps the water out by screwing it down, but it's also quite, a lot of people would think it's broken, but it's not. What happens is there's a clutch inside here, and when that's engaged, you can wind it. But when it's not engaged, it just spins freely. So this makes it very shock resistant, because when you screw it down, it's not engaged with the stem at all. It's basically, the stem is just sitting in the middle there and it's completely independent. So it can take a hit to the crown, it keeps water out, it's just a very well-designed watch. And it's also much cheaper to produce than most other dive watches. So it's really a nice design, it's got great history to it, and it comes in a lot of different flavors. So this right here is a just stock, what they call Scuba Dude, in a 710 case. And that's a pretty popular design right now. You can pick one up exactly like this for about $60 shipped, I think. It comes in a cheap little box like this, and inside it also comes with this bracelet, which I don't like. I never used it. I've heard they're extremely cheap. I mean, they sell the bracelets for $8, so you know, what do you expect? But yeah, here it is. This is all you get with the watch. That's it. Nothing too fancy there. But I really like this watch. This one I actually picked up from my friend. It's completely bone stock. It's very nice. Let me pull mine out here. That came out wrong. But here is my Amphibia. I've done a very small amount of modding with it, as you can sort of tell. I replaced the bezel with a different stainless steel bezel that's available on Marinome, the only site that will sell these bezels. I think they make them. They're close to the Vostok factory. It's always shipped from Russia. So anyway, but here it is, a nice automatic cheap dive watch, and I really like these like a lot. They're very nice. Here's their profile. I like NATO straps, so I keep it on a NATO. But I also have one more here, which is in another case. So this one is, I think this is the 060 case. I don't remember exactly, but this one also has been modded. You see the hands there are, they're from a special edition model that's only sold on Marinome, but I got those from someone else. And the stainless steel bezel here, usually the bezels, like with our stock one here, the bezel is chrome plated brass. So that is, you know, I mean, it looks great now, but as it ages, it's gonna look different than the stainless steel, and the chrome plating can come off, and I'd rather have a fully stainless steel here. And it looks amazing. I love how this looks. It's wonderful. Here I also added a new crown, also only available on Marinome. I don't think there are any watches that they have with this crown yet. I don't know if there will be. It's kind of a roughly machined crown, but it looks good on this matte case here. But yeah, it's really a nice crown. The crown on all of these other two Vostoks here, they are stainless steel plated brass. So they're not solid stainless steel. I have never use this term on the internet, but I was wondering if it could catch on. I kind of call this a trash can lid. It's kind of, feels kind of cheap, honestly, but I still love the watches. They are so awesome. And just, you could not possibly get more for your money, I don't think. There are, obviously, for this price, some problems. I mean, you know, these watches are like $50, $60, and you're getting an automatic dive watch with a bracelet. So you can imagine there are some problems. I think the main problem with Vostoks is QA. Like, the quality assurance is just not that great. For example, this watch. When I got this watch, the seconds hand was like skipping. It would go like a few seconds and then stop a second and then jump forward. And I had to search online for how to fix that, and I was able to fix it myself. I didn't have to send it back. I just opened it up and did what the internet told me to do. And now it's beautifully smooth. These are about 19,800 beats per hour, by the way. So it's not going to be as smooth as, like, you know, a Rolex or something. But, you know, it's not a Rolex. So yeah. Also, the self-winding mechanism wasn't perfect. The rotor would kind of spin and then get stuck, and then maybe if it moved a little more, it would keep spinning. But so I replaced the rotor as well. That was just a few bucks, no big deal. And yeah, now it's perfect. This particular one had a little problem with the crown. When I pulled it out to set the time, and then I tried to screw it back in, it would still be setting the time while I was screwing it back in. That's no good. So I pulled out the crown and put it back in, and now it works perfectly. No problem there at all. And this one I actually got from someone else. So it must have taken kind of a pretty big hit during the mailing, because when I received it, it was running like, what was it? Something like 2 minutes fast per day. So once again, I just did what the internet told me to do, and along with an app on my phone, I was able to get it right in line. Now it's running perfectly. All of these are actually running pretty perfectly. They're very, very accurate, and I just love them. These are great watches. Let's see, I'm sure there's another problem here that I'm leaving off the list. I mean, they are very cheap, but they're also very nice watches for the price. Let's see. Well, why don't we just go straight to a wrist shot here. I'll get the 710 on. And there's a lot of other cases that I do not have with me at all. So, and also I don't use this particular NATO strap correctly, so I'm well aware of that. I just like using this one like this. So here it is on the wrist. I'll zoom out here. And refocus. Oh, it doesn't. Oh. Okay, that's it. I'm switching to manual focus. This is pointless. Alright. That's why. Too far away. Alright then. I'll just move it up here. Alright, so there it is on the wrist. It's not half bad looking. It's about 40 millimeters across there, 22 millimeter lugs. So it can share a lot of bands and straps and whatever with your Seikos. And it's a very nice looking watch. I don't use the NATO right here. I use it like that. But I like that on this particular strap. These are great fun for modding. There's a lot of mods you can do. You can buy third-party bezels for them, and you can put Seiko inserts into those bezels. It's really an emerging mod. The guy I bought it from, with this one, the guy I bought it from, he had it on a Perlon strap, so I kept it on that. I thought it looked good. This is obviously just going to, I think this is 41 millimeters across, but it has a much bigger wrist presence because of this area right here that the 710 case doesn't have. So this will have the smaller wrist presence, and this one has much larger one. So yeah, these are great watches. I would recommend them to anyone who's kind of just getting started. And I mean, I don't know how you can go wrong with a Vostok. They're cheap, they're fun. You can work on them yourself because if something bad happens, then you can fix it so easily because of, how cheap they are. Like who cares if you mess it up, right? They are just so, like I learned a lot just from messing around with Vostoks. And that was by far like worth it for me, just getting these. They're awesome. I think I'm gonna cut it off right here. Let me know if I left anything out. There's a lot of Vostok fans out there. In fact, I'm looking forward to next year when they're gonna release a special edition, a limited edition of the original 1967 one. And yeah, there's lots and lots of modding you can do to these, so they are a lot of fun. I could keep talking about these for quite a while, I'm sure. All of the case backs look exactly like this, by the way. And yeah, that's it for me. I'm out. If you like this, go ahead, hit like, subscribe. If you didn't like it, go ahead, hit dislike. Tell me why. And I will see you later. Peace.